Hi, this is Lindsay, one of the co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, guys.
This is Keith.
And Katie from Coffee with Keith and Katie on Public House Media.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
When you're done listening to this show, I hope you'll come check out our show, Coffee with Keith and Katie. A new episode comes out every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Pals.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Jess.
And welcome back to Crowned and Dangerous.
Hey, this is episode 5.
Wow. We've knocked out almost 5 of these puppies now.
We've made it so far.
Go us. We deserve an award, honestly.
We should. So, if you're just tuning in and you haven't listened to the last 4 episodes, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, go back and do it now.
Our last episode was about promoting your passion, and we had a very special guest, Susan Fochs, hop on with us. She is the CEO and founder and just like super cool girl.
Boss woman.
Yeah, total boss woman. So go back and listen to that. But we're excited to chat with you today a little bit more about platforms because we were feeling pretty inspired after chatting with Susan last week on how she created her platform from just a very simple idea. So we kind of wanted to talk about our own platforms and maybe how you can discover your own platform or find a passion that you wanted to promote, whether that be in pageants or out of pageants. Maybe you're trying to come up with a business plan or start your own company. So let's kind of chat about platforms.
Totally. Side note, why is the term girl boss a thing? If you quick think about it.
Ooh.
Like, did you ever see that? This is a quick side note, but have you ever seen that demonstration where they ask kids to like have like the word boss and they always associate with like male or female and they always choose male? Like the word girl boss, it's like, or the phrase, I like it, but at the same time, I don't. Do you know what I mean?
I feel you on that because
like boss. So I was like, oh, boss woman. And I'm like, no, boss.
No.
Boss Susan. You're a boss.
I am a boss.
I just picked a bone with myself. Exactly. It was just the whole time you were talking about that, I was in my head. I'm just like, oh my goodness, how horrible and controversial is that term, girl boss? I see so many notebooks and like binders and stuff printed girl boss, and I'm like, wow, that really bothers me now that I think about it.
Interesting. I honestly never thought about it that way because I guess it shouldn't be. I guess differentiated by gender, right? Like, just be a friggin' boss.
Right. But then think, is male ballerina, is that a thing? Like, do you call someone like male ballerina or do you say ballerina?
Like ballerina.
I guess you would just say
female.
Yeah. I guess you could say company dancer. I don't know. That's a different, someone else on a different podcast should answer that question for us.
We're actually transitioning this podcast to become a philosophical podcast.
It is. So, we're just hanging up the crowns. Honestly, we both are done with MAO now, so we're just trying to find a new purpose in life. Philosophy. I took philosophy in college, honestly.
Oh, it was the worst.
Do you know what I did the whole 3-hour class? Added to my pageant Pinterest board. That's what I did. During my first year. Oh, heck yeah.
What's on your pageant Pinterest board?
Oh, my gosh. It's just all of these different pins that... Katie,
did you pin like
director.
Evening gown?
Yeah, evening gowns, talent outfits, appearance outfits. Sometimes there'd be some quotes. I remember my 3rd year at state when I just totally tanked that whole experience. And I remember she put like all these motivational quotes on the board after that. It was like, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. And I'm just like, you're like, right.
Okay. Still hate myself.
Yeah, this is me. Okay, I guess.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I'm fine.
Yeah, so that's another episode. I think I say every episode I tell a story, then I say that's another episode. So I need to go back and compile all of those stories into something.
We have like 50 episodes ready to go.
Yeah. Speaking of, quick plug, if you have any ideas that you want to hear on an episode, feel free to message us, email us, DM us, anything. And we've thrown a couple different ideas around. I know I've talked about reading mean pageant tweets or like mean things about you from voy boards or something. I think that would be really fun.
Oh my god, the voy boards. You get sucked into those so easily. That's hilarious.
I know. One other contestant and I would always talk about how we were voy board queens because for a while people would always just bash us on there. That's a whole nother story though.
Oh my
but
god,
they're
so
great
many stories.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my god, I need to start making a list of all this because I can't keep track.
Yes, I've always when I want to talk about pageants and relationships too. I think that would be really fun.
Love that.
I know. I just love dishing the dirt, honestly, on that kind of stuff.
So
but
fun.
that's not what our episode is about today. Again, reminder,
Jessica. Let's talk about like the actual topic that we had planned for today.
Yeah.
So let's kind of chat. Okay, so what exactly is a platform? I know people have asked me this before, like people who are not involved in pageants. They're like, well, what is a platform? Like, what do you actually do as a title holder? And this is a huge part of it. So essentially, a platform is an issue or a cause that you choose to promote specifically in the Miss America organization, but now other pageant organizations are also picking up a platform aspect. So it's something that's very personal to you. It's something that you want to basically, you know, you have to wake up every morning and feel very passionate about this topic so that you can kind of be a catalyst for change in that area is kind of how I would describe it as.
Right. And I know on a previous episode, if you've maybe heard it or not, but Jessica and I have actually gone through a few different platforms.
Oh my God.
My first platform, I think I talked about, and I know we talked about this in a past episode, but if you know us now, I think it's so different from who we were in 2013, 2014, etc. Like example, mine was on cancer awareness, and that is a great cause, an issue, but it was so broad. And and the reason I picked it is because I was like, oh, people in my family have had cancer. This makes sense. And it wasn't something that I was exactly passionate about. It's great. Like my friend, Zoe, she's so passionate about cancer as everyone's battle. That was her platform. And she raised like over 10 grand for her platform. Like she did a great job, but wasn't really my thing. And for you, wasn't yours like liver disease awareness or something?
Oh my God, seriously. And I kind of want to talk about these first platforms because I think it's one thing to, when you're introduced to a platform, you have to you're thinking of an issue or a cause that is personal to you. But at the same time, something that is personal to you that isn't necessarily something that you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. Because, my first platform was about liver disease awareness because my grandpa had just literally passed away from it, which was quite the interesting experience.
Wait, I'm not laughing because obviously that's really traumatic, but didn't you say you cried in your first interview or something?
Oh my God, I bawled my eyes out. It was so awful because my grandpa literally passed away like less than a year before that. And I was like, oh, for sure, I can talk about liver disease. Like, I know this ins and outs. But no, it was seriously awful. And although it was something that affected me personally, it wasn't something that I was like truly passionate about promoting, I guess. Like, of course I'm an advocate for it, but it wasn't something that I absolutely loved promoting.
Did you really advocate against drinking then? Just curious. Or not? Really?
Honestly, I only competed in one pageant with the liver disease platform, but I did like a lot of partnering with different organizations that also promote liver health and basically like healthy eating and exercising, and I learned quite a bit about it, and a lot of it actually liver disease, I don't want to get all scientific here, but liver disease is kind of hereditary sometimes, which is interesting.
I was just thinking how ironic it would be if you dealt with Oktoberfest and your platform was liver disease. That's what I was thinking about. That's why I asked if you advocate against drinking or whatnot.
If I ended up competing for Miss Lacrosse Oktoberfest.
Yes.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
That would actually be really cool because we try so hard to take it away from the drinking stereotype. I mean,
interesting.
We play into it at the same time. It's so much more than that. So that would actually be a really cool connection. But I'm just wondering for personal info.
Yeah, no. So I guess coming from both of our first platform experiences is that you have to find something that you are really wanting to put a lot of time and energy into. Because I think, and a pet peeve of mine, we can talk about this later, is when girls will choose a platform that they think is like a relevant topic or a hot topic, but has no connection to them.
Yes.
So they literally just sit back and don't do anything with their platforms. That frustrates me.
Right. It's hard. Like for me, it took me how many platforms did I have? Oh, I had 2. I kept my third platform. So my first one I competed in was cancer, and that just like was not really my scene. And then during my first title year, I was really, really passionate about, and I think it was called Ensuring the Future of the Performing Arts. Yeah. Which at the time was just very hard, just because Miss America at the time was going in such a STEM direction that they were actually considering changing one of the points of the crown to STEM instead of success, which I think they just threw that out the window now, because the past year or two, they just have never talked about STEM at all. They used to say that you need to advocate for, which Savvy Shields, who was a former Miss America, just shared about how Google doesn't look for like STEM employees or something. They look for like STEAM or streamer incorporating the arts. And I think STEM is great. Like our friend Krista has a STEM platform, and that's really cool because she was the only female in her computer science department, I'm pretty sure, in college. But for me, I was somebody that excelled in the arts. I danced for 15 years. I put dance over school a lot of the time, which really frustrated my family. But that was just my thing. And the arts kept me interested in school. And that's how I expressed myself. And, there's all these statistics about how it boosts everything, whatever. I'm not on a sales pitch right now. But that was kind of my scene. But the time Miss America was going in such a STEM direction that I was kind of like, okay, how far can I really push this right now? And now I think it's a lot easier to push just because we don't focus on STEM as much with Miss America. But then I ended up changing it after I took a media literacy class at UW La Crosse. Yeah. That's when I changed my platform, because I was like, wow, I really enjoy this whole male-female psychological, whatever you want to call it, I guess, like different gaps and everything. Side note, speaking of that, I wanted to share this with you, Jess, really quick. Yeah. That I know you would enjoy this because we both have pretty girl power platforms. There was this thing I saw on Twitter, and it was like, why would you let guys pay for your drinks? And the girl responded, and she was like, because there's a wage gap and he can afford it. I thought that was so funny.
Oh my God. But honestly, that's very true.
Right. So. I thought that was really funny. But what were you saying? I just have to go because I know I would forget it later.
No, like I like how you kind of talked about like there was something that happened where like you really kind of started to spark an interest in like a certain topic. And I think that's kind of what everybody has to do if they're trying to if you're trying to develop a pageant platform, or if you're just trying to find something that you're passionate about, you have to like kind of put yourself out there and like get out there and try new things or get involved in new things to kind of see where you fit. Because like so my first platform was liver disease awareness, but my second platform, I decided to partner with the Girl Up campaign, which is a United Nations campaign all about making sure that girls, both in the US and in developing countries, have the resources to be healthy and safe and educated. And that was something that I was really passionate about because at this time I had just started to get into the communication field, and I was really loving like nonprofit work. Like I thought that was really fascinating. So I was like, oh, like I think it'd be cool to do something like, nonprofit, like United Nations program or like a campaign of that. And so that's kind of how I dabbled a little bit into the Girl Up campaign. And also like I was raised around education. Both of my parents are educators. And so I thought it was really cool that a lot of the campaign was making sure that girls in developing countries had access to education. So honestly, there's like little things that I pull from my interests and little things that I pull from my background to kind of create a platform that I'm really passionate about. So I think if you're trying to find a passion, you have to think about, okay, like what are things that you like to read about or hear about? Like, what are things you enjoy participating in? What is something that you'd like to try? Or has there been something that has been really significant that's impacted your life or your perspectives? And I think that's kind of helpful in figuring out where your passion lies and what kind of platform you should kind of pursue in that sense.
Right. When I took that one class at EWL, it really fascinated me. And then actually Katie was the one who was like, why don't you do a platform on this? And it was the thing too with my platform with consent and sexual assault and everything. It was kind of before the movement really hit its stride. I think the situation became really, really real this past year. Like, I think this past year was probably the time when people kind of opened their eyes and thought, wow, this is really happening, just because of the Me Too movement and everything. But that was the biggest struggle with it, was in 2015, 2016, getting people to legitimize it and understand that it's really happening. And it was one of those things that a lot of people just didn't want to talk about at the time. I know that seems weird because it was only 2-3 years ago, but honestly, I still remember going into interviews and having to basically convince people that this was a real thing and telling them that this was happening. And I say this all the time. I told them so many times that the time is coming, like it's going to blow up, and the time is now. And then it finally did this past year. And then I don't want to say everybody bandwagoned on it, but I think people finally understood how big of an issue it was and have gone back and thought, wow, I've had these experiences, and I just kind of brushed it off. I didn't really realize that that's what it was.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things that even if it's your passion and it's not exactly maybe the time, I put time in quotation marks for it, or people aren't believing you, I guess my advice for that is don't sell yourself down the river. Don't give up. Just kind of stick with it.
Right. Make people believe you.
Right, exactly. Because I just remember feeling so defeated because I was like, people just don't understand this is a big issue. And now it is. And now it's something that a lot of people can talk about. And I also felt at the time that since a lot of people didn't want to talk about it, if I could, it was my responsibility to talk about it.
For sure.
A very big believer in that quote. Please tell me you've seen Spider-Man.
Yes, I have.
With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben, that is my thing. Love him. But
Uncle Ben is my dad.
Uncle Ben. But yeah, that's kind of how I found mine. Jess, do you want to go into how you started maybe, branding it and branding yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Because I know, so when I transitioned and decided that I want to do something more girls empowerment, this was kind of when I started dabbling in Girl Up with the United Nations campaign. And I felt really strongly about that because it was really cool that I was advocating for girls who may not have all the resources. And I felt like it was my responsibility to be a catalyst for change for them. And so then I was like, you know what? I want to, Girl Up is like an international campaign, but what really kind of changed my mind to create GEMS was that I wanted to start making a difference or more of an impact locally. And I was like, okay, so there's not many organizations or campaigns that I know about, like right here at home or even in Wisconsin, that focus on girls' empowerment and making sure that girls understand their worth from the inside out. So I was like, why not create it then? So, of course, there's like Girl Scouts and stuff like that, and I've been able to partner with them. But I thought, like, why not create something? Like, if there's not already an organization that's promoting what I want, I felt responsible that I should make it. Like, why not? So I decided to reach out to people for some more resources. So Brenda Collins, who's like a really good friend of mine and a great mentor, she's from my hometown, and she had this idea for GEMS initially, and I give her all the credit because she kind of like thought of this idea. So she met up with me and she was like, why don't you kind of take GEMS and run with it? Like, why don't you create a program for girls called Girls Empowered and Motivated to Serve, and, create a curriculum on how you can build girls up from like their very core. So developing confidence and learning about yourself and your passions and finding what you're good at. And then the service part comes in where, you use your passions and your talents to, go down an avenue of community service that you're passionate about. So I was like, okay, but I really need to narrow this down. Like, right. That was tricky because I thought that, okay, so I could do a lot with like girls empowerment and community involvement and service, but like,
it's hard to narrow it down when you want to do 20 different things and like run with it.
That's really hard. And I think that kind of goes along with like, if you're creating a platform or a business plan, you really have to get down to the core of what exactly you want to accomplish with it. So this was kind of my next point. Like a platform is a lot like creating a business. So get to the very core and ask yourself, like, what exactly is your mission? Like, what exactly do you want to achieve? So what difference do you want to make? Like, if you're saying, I want to solve world hunger, like, sure, that's a big issue and sure you can tackle that, but it's so broad that you should really narrow it down. So, ask yourself how you're going to do that and get to the root of what you want to tackle.
So I have 2 questions for you, Jess. So in one sentence, I want you to give me like, what was your one mission with your platform? Like one sentence, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So my mission with GEMS is to make sure that every girl, no matter where she comes from, no matter what her background is, has a resource to come to understand her passions and her talents and lead those down an avenue of community service to make an impact for other people.
Okay. And then
the other mission.
Yes. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you before I jump in is, how did you make not so much your program, but yourself stand out with your program? So what about you? Did you really want people to look like, if I looked at Jessica Hammer, what would I know by like hearing what you said, but also like looking at you, I'd be like, oh, that's the girl who, or something like that. Like, how do you make yourself different, I guess?
Sure. This is tricky because like there's a lot of, I learned this as I was trying to develop GEMS, is that there's a lot of girls who want to do a women's empowerment type platform. A lot of people want to do like stuff on confidence. A lot of people want to do stuff on, building girls up and making them feel powerful and stuff. And that's great. Like, I love that. But I think the thing that I really wanted to make sure was really solid was an actual program, like something tangible that I could take places. So that's why I created a curriculum. I made like worksheets and PowerPoints and adjusted it depending on age level. And I wanted to make sure that I had something in my back pocket to take wherever I go. So I wasn't just coming into a classroom and speaking. I was giving them a program that they could take forward with them. So that's, oh gosh, it's so much more broad than that. Like
it's
there's hard so much more to it, but I think that one really big thing that I wanted to make sure would stand out about me and my platform is that I had something that I could not only talk about, but I could, I don't know how I want to describe it. Like it's not something that I just go and talk to people about.
Right. You live and breathe it.
Yeah, I live and breathe it. Like it's That's something good. that I've taken with me, like wherever I go. And that I have materials to market with. But I don't know, Maddie, like I want to hear about how you have marketed your platform, because it's tricky. And I think your platform, we both have girl power platforms and stuff, but yours has been fairly controversial. And like, I want to know like your strategies for how have you marketed that to like different kinds of people?
Right. So if you have any questions, just jump in like I did with yours. Like I was like, tell me okay. So my platform was called Unblur the Lines, and Katie actually came up with that. That was really cool, but it was about sexual assault, consent, informing people about basically all things sexual assault and that kind of vibe. Talked about females empowerment as well, a little bit in there, but where to begin? Because I feel like there's just so much that has like, not like, oh, I've done like 20,000 things with it, but just there's a lot of chapters to it because it's gone through quite the ringer, I will say.
Sure. So like, give me an example of like, so you have like a group of elementary school kids or something that like, you're going to visit and you want to talk about your platform. Like, how do you market it to like younger people? Because it's a big issue that a lot of adults can talk about, but
Yes.
Like, how do you talk about that to little kids?
So that was actually the question. If there's one question I got every single interview, it was that one. And it's really, I really talked about consent. During Oktoberfest, we did 40 school visits, and, and talking with teachers about it, even kids, a lot about it is consent, because when you form those attitudes when you're young, they really do stick with you for life. So even consent, like, can I give you a hug? Can I use your marker? Can I have that sheet of paper? Yes and no. Also talking with parents too, because how many times do you see parents, their kid begs for something and they say no 10 times, then they finally give in. So kids know if they beg enough and they say please enough and, give it to me enough, the parent will eventually cave. So it's, so it's kind of forming those tiny little things that we don't even think about on a day-to-day basis, and thinking those attitudes really form, and they kind of appear to all issues, including sexual assault, not taking no for an answer, and actually lack of consent too. Lack of consent. I know that sounds really cheesy to maybe, or uncomfortable to ask for consent before you do anything, but honestly, it's kind of the new thing. Talking about that a lot. Personal space.
Like a lot of it's like being respectful, essentially.
Yeah, we talked a lot about respect. Like I said, personal space is a really big thing. And that's what we really covered with kids, just because attention spans aren't great, but those are also, again, attitudes that you can apply to so many different topics.
For sure.
So it can be pretty broad, but that's what we did a lot. We did a lot of that. Otherwise, I guess through Miss America, I guess I really wanted to, with my platform, I thought, I need to, it does stand, like, it stands out in the general that it's like kind of touchy, but I also wanted to be somebody who lived and breathes my platform. And I think so many people, this doesn't sound kind of weird, but so many people sell their soul to Miss America, I think. I think so many people sell out their personal beliefs and values to be the quote unquote Miss America brand, which that's my biggest pet peeve out of anything. I think people who, try and always say the right thing, and, a pageant patty, as we say, give the right quote unquote interview answer to an interview question and whatever. I just think that's not real. So I've never wanted to be that kind of person. I always wanted to be 100% real with people, say exactly how I was feeling. And with a platform like this, I think you kind of do need to step out of the box a little bit. There's no way to really talk about this unless you're just preaching abstinence, which in my opinion is also really not, effective. But
I have a story about that, actually.
Okay. I'll just quick finish up this little.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit.
So with me and with Miss America, I kind of whether or not I was a state title holder or, Miss America or anything, whether I didn't even win a local title, I just wanted to show people that you don't need to be such a certain cutout. And I think when people say you don't need to be the Miss America cutout, I think they automatically think oh, you don't need to be blonde in a size 2. And I think that's great. I think it's great to step out of that box. But at the same time, I wanted to prove that you can be edgy. You can be, you don't have to be modest to be respected. That whole deal. I wanted to say, you don't have to fit into this pageant box, but you can also fit out of it in a million different ways.
Right.
So that's when I have a few significant milestones, I think, throughout my MAO career. And I think you know which one I'm about to bring up.
Oh, yes. Talk about it.
So in 2017, April 2017, I got this idea. I saw actually a lot of things on Tumblr and everything, and I'm a big Tumblr person. And I thought, okay, I kind of want to do this. So what I did, I actually had April, who was my roommate at the time, my friend April, and she also ran an MAO too. I wanted to make a really big statement with my platform, and I wanted to market it in a certain way. And I said, how am I going to get people's attention? So what I did is my platform on Blur the Lines, I had her paint it on my back, on my bare back, because I talk a lot about sexualization of the body and how, and dress codes. We talked a lot about dress codes with kids a lot too, and women and college age students a lot too, about collarbones, you know, and your shoulders being shown or your back.
Right.
And I wanted to prove a point that you don't need to be modest or respected. You know, what's inappropriate about a back? If you have a problem with it, you're the problem. It's society skewed reality, you know, perception of reality. So my back was bare in that picture. So I did have a shirt on. And I would say it was a very mixed bag of reactions. So all the people around our age, I got some really great feedback on, and like at the time, I think it was my most, and that was a year and a half ago, but that was my most popular post. And I think I had the most comments on it. And it was really cool to see the interactions, people being like, you like, this is great, you know, whatever. But within Miss America, I don't know if it had the best reaction.
Honestly, and you know, I think I'm gonna interrupt you, because I think part of the reason why people within the Miss America organization had such a strange reaction to it is because people have this idea that Miss America has to be this perfect cookie cutter person. And like historically, like I feel like that's what people think she is. And of course, I mean, I think more recently, like we see that, you know, other Miss Americas have maybe pushed the envelope a little bit more. Like Cara really, you know, stood up against what she thought was not right. And, you know, Miss America's becoming a little bit more outspoken, I hope. But I think, you know, people had that response in MAO because they're like, oh no, you need to cover up. You have to be a good title holder. But like, why, you know?
Right. And my last sentence that I put in this post was, will you help unblur the lines, or is my back too distracting for you? So I just wanted to prove the point that, like you said, even though you're given this cookie cutter role, you don't have to fit into it and you can still succeed in it. Mm-hmm. So I had a lot of great feedback. Like I said, the one that really stuck out to me, a girl in one of my classes came up to me and she told me how she was a survivor of sexual assault, and like she started crying. It was like this huge thing, but that was really cool to see. But then otherwise, like in the organization, I'll just be super blunt about it, I had a lot of people I know a lot of people said things about it, but a lot of people wouldn't say it to my face. I'll put it that way. I heard a lot of backlash through people, but nobody could come up. What really bothered me about it is nobody could come up to me and say, hey, I just am curious. Like, can you tell me more about this? Or can you tell me like why you did this? Or just ask about it. But it was kind of like a don't ask, don't tell subject. Like a lot of people just wouldn't come up to me and ask me. I had people texting me, calling me, some people saying that don't be surprised if this loses you your title or state title or whatever. But at the point, yeah, which was really dramatic, I think. But at the same time, what can you do? It's a back. You probably show more of yourself during swimsuit at Miss America. And
true,
you know, what, I don't know. I'm frustrated talking about it because I don't get how people, like, I think now in 2018, people would probably be better about it than they were a year and a half ago. But it's just very frustrating. And some people even went as far to be like, oh, that's why she didn't make top 10 last year, is because of that picture and all that stuff. And honestly, I have said this, I'm like, I don't think that's it, but for some reason, if it was, I would rather miserably lose every single year and keep that picture up than play their game and win.
Exactly. Like continue, like exactly what we said before, like staying completely true to yourself, pushing the envelope regardless of what other people say. Like, I think that's what a true Miss America is, or a true title holder is someone who is willing to speak up for something that they are passionate about and not back down and not be pageant patty and perfect and cookie cutter. Like that's someone that I look up to. I look up to someone who can do something differently. And I think that's more relatable than anything else. Like, I don't want someone who's perfect and can do things perfectly all the time, or like quote unquote perfect, I guess, or like
right. And it was just kind of got to the point where I'm just like, you know, Miss America, you're too good at a game that I don't even want to play. And it, like I said, it's very frustrating. And side note, I did that post for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is April. So that's the reason behind it. And then this year, April, for Awareness Month, I dyed my hair like half down blue.
I love that.
But I think I kind of want to do it again this year for April too, even though I'm done with Miss America. But again, I just wanted to prove that you don't have to be this certain person. You don't have to, I had blue hair for a month, which actually was really cool when I volunteered at the YWCA. A lot of girls talked about that. And something I wrote in my blog post was one girl was just like, they said that you were coming in to help us out. They would do like an interview day, just like getting to know them and everything. And she was like, I heard that Miss Lacrosse was coming in, and I was just nervous because I was like, we're going to have nothing to talk about. I'm not a pageant queen, which, not about that phrase, right. But, she's like, but then I saw that you had blue hair, and I was like, oh, wait, this actually might be okay. So it was like a weird icebreaker, honestly. Right. And I miss my blue hair a lot. But it was just fun, and I just wanted to do something different, honestly. Like, I think my brand, I just wanted to be very different, because I think I'm somebody who likes to push the envelope, I think, a little bit, and how I dress, how I
it's a personal brand.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make it work, and I hope that being done with Miss America, people, I like to think, when you look at someone, what do you immediately think of? And I would hope that, when people would see me or look at me, they would think, wow, she really marches to the beat of her own drum, and she's an individual. And that's what I hope I accomplished. I can't really say what other people thought, but that's the one thing I wanted to share during my thing and my platform.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think it's so true. I mean, even like seeing, like knowing you personally, and like also, but seeing your platform from an outside perspective, and like in comparison to what I've seen before from other title holders, like your platform definitely stands out among the rest, because it's controversial. It's different. It's something that not a lot of people are people are aware of, but they're not comfortable talking about yet. And I think that's the perfect platform to have. And that's a perfect brand to promote, is something that you yourself as an individual are so passionate about, and you want to speak up for other people because of this sort of platform that you have, like as a title holder, with like a large following. Like, I don't know. I just thought it was so cool.
Thank you. I'm trying to now, being after life after the crown, I'm trying to figure out ways I can still kind of stay a part of it. Like I said, I want to still dye my hair blue in April, but I really want to do like a walk. Or have you ever heard of the slut walk?
No.
Oh my gosh. I know Amber Rose, celebrity, she does them. Otherwise, I know there's like little different versions of them where it's like a women's march, and it's kind of like, how people do Pride, and they just dress up in like rainbow stuff and are like half naked everywhere. I really want to do a slut walk someday and just like run around and live my free life. And, so I want to do that, but looking for ways to still get involved. But I want to hear your story on the abstinence thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. So going back to my platform a little bit, like Gems, I've kind of gotten down to the root. Like I have a target market, and we can talk about this kind of when we talk about like, marketing yourself and marketing your brand and stuff and how to do that. But I've created like my target market, and for Gems, I really wanted to target like middle school age girls, because I know that's a really hard time for a lot of girls. So I wanted to target that specifically. So although I'm not competing in the Miss America program anymore, I'm still trying to be active with Gems. Like it's difficult working full time, but so instead of, traveling every single weekend doing a Gems workshop, I've been, kind of scheduling some here and there. And there was one woman who is the leader of a Girl Scout troop. And I partner with Girl Scouts. So I get like mostly contacted by Girl Scout troops, but she was the leader of a Girl Scout troop that's between like late middle school, early high school aged girls. And she contacts me and she goes, tell me a little bit more about your Gems program. Like, what do you do during a workshop? And so I kind of gave her the details. Like we talk about confidence and finding a passion and, discovering a talent by getting involved in different things. But then at the end of the workshop, it can be customizable because we do a mini service project. So your girls can pretty much do anything that they would like, as long as it's a way that they are giving back using their talents and their passions. So she was like, okay, well, I kind of want to customize this a little further. Would you be able to talk about health and nutrition, personal hygiene? Could you talk about, wearing supportive bras? Can you talk about wearing deodorant and brushing your teeth every day?
I feel like that's kind of like a school nurse or like guidance counselor thing.
Exactly. And then she goes on to say, I really want you to talk too about abstinence and saying no to sex, because we've had a lot of girls that have already had experiences with this. And I think that you can really touch on that. And I was like, okay, this is tricky. Like, those are all great topics, but I honestly replied to her and I said, I'd love to touch on those, but I don't feel like I'm a credible source for that. I don't have like all the answers to that. Like, this is not really what my program's all about. So I'd be happy to guide you to some resources, but I was like, I felt so uncomfortable because I was like, I don't think you really understood what I do. Like, I'm not just here to talk about like everything. I kind of, I don't know. It was just so awkward.
That's especially like wearing supportive bras and everything. Like,
no, I'm like, I'm not one, like, I cannot tell girls what to do and how to do them. Like, like GEMS is about finding your own path. Right. Not about telling you what path to go on. Like, that's not me.
Jess, we should just do a crossover workshop.
Oh, can we please? Maybe that's what she's looking for.
Yeah. I would say bring me in. I'll be the, where do they go?
My guest speaker, please.
Oh my gosh. That's the thing too. It's like, that's a hard age, because at that point in time, like, I'm sure you remember too in middle school, like how like quiet and awkward you are and everything. Were you that way? At least I was.
Yep.
And now I feel like I'm an open book. Like, I don't ever feel uncomfortable talking about anything. I'm very like,
oh no,
free willy kind of person. But that's hard. And like you said, tell me how you even talk about wearing a supportive bra. Like,
I know. I'm
go out and buy one. I don't know.
I don't care. Like, I don't care what kind of bra you wear.
Don't even wear one.
Don't wear one. Screw bras.
I go out in public without wearing a bra sometimes. Ask me how much I care.
I love going braless. It's the best.
I know. That's why I'm just like, that's just like, how do you even, was she offering to like pay you to do this or no?
No, because like all my workshops are completely free and they're paid for like by donations that I get. Because
you're so kind.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of put me in rough spots though too, because people have wanted me to like drive 3 hours for a workshop, and I'm like, oh, that's gas money too.
Right, that's hard.
But luckily, I mean, like, I've gotten a lot of support, and a lot of Girl Scout troops will donate back to GEMS, so I've been able to use that for materials and things. But before we wrap up, I kind of want to touch on marketing a little bit, because I know, I mean, we're both like social media people, PR pros. I don't know how to call myself a PR pro yet. I literally have been at my job for a month, but
communication professional.
So I guess, I mean, I think a big thing about creating a platform and choosing a platform and promoting it is making sure that the name of your platform is very clear, in making sure that people understand what it's about, and like yours, like unblur the line.
That one, the only reason, I used to always be a person that was like, you need to have exactly what your platform is in your title. But the thing was, with Unblur the Lines, I didn't want to have, I did it for a while, but then I took it out. I didn't want to have sexual assault just in the title, just because I wanted to be able to promote it in all areas and to all ages. So,
for sure.
I don't know if I would want to be, I think it's important and everything, but for some like marketing and branding purposes, I just didn't want to have like kindergartners and everything, with stuff like that, because we don't really talk about sexual assault with them. We talk about consent and respect and everything. So I wanted something right. And then older people, do Blur the Lines, especially if anyone was around in 2013 when Blurred Lines came out by Robin Thicke, and then like Miley Cyrus, and then the MTV Video Music Awards, the VMAs. Huge thing. But that otherwise. And I think too, or sorry, do you want to go first?
I have a question for you, Maddie. So like when you promote Unblur the Lines, like I know like a huge part of it honestly has been like how like your own self-expression, like how you did, like writing on your back and dyeing your hair blue, like, I guess, like, was social media like your main way that you wanted to promote Unblur the Lines?
To me, it was. And my Instagram, for sure. I think people who follow my Instagram know I'm a pretty, not, I want to say out there, because I don't mean like quirky or anything, just a little bit more.
You're honest.
Yeah, honest, bold,
I don't
daring.
know.
I like to push the edges, and a lot. It was so cute. A girl that I follow on Instagram, she's a few years younger than us, and she posted this really fire Instagram pic, and I commented, I'm just like, oh my God, I love this. And she's like, thanks. Like, I actually like got inspired from one of your posts, and it made me so happy. I know. I'm just like, girl, like, live your life to the fullest because you are so fantastic.
I love that.
Like, that stuff makes me happy, because I think that, especially living in Wisconsin, a lot of people think that you can't, you see like all these like Instagram models and all these things. And it's like, oh, like, that's cool. But like, like, you live in Wisconsin, whatever. I've always just like wanted to like kind of just be a little bit more pushy and out there. And yes, I love the gram. Instagram is my favorite thing ever. But
I love IG.
Also, too, when I was talking about my back post, I was like, how do I turn the situation into an even better one? So that's when I made my shirts. I got shirts made, and I actually had my back picture on the back of them. So I kind of was like, do you want me to cover up my back? Well, guess what? Now you can buy it by covering up your back. Like, I just kind of made this thing out of it. And then the proceeds went back to a women's shelter in La Crosse. But
that was the best.
it's just like little things like that where it's like, people want to talk and, give you a reason to stop, but it's like, hey, give them what they want, but at the same time, make a profit out of it. So
exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of having that, not so much like the last word or anything, but, kind of turning every situation into a marketable standpoint, into making, just taking it one step further. So that was kind of a little fun moment, I think, when because actually a guy reached out to me and was like, hey, I own this shirt company. Do you want to work together? And I was like, of course. And I actually asked him, just like, hey, like, do you think we could actually, put this sketch of my back on the shirt? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And it was really cool. And seeing it on the website and the whole mission and everything, that was really, really neat. So that made me really happy.
I love those moments, like when what you do is like paying off, or you see it succeed in some way. Because there was a time where I had I was actually at a pageant workshop, and I was kind of talking about like platform development and stuff like that. And one of the volunteers she kind of interrupted me, and she was like, I just want to say, like, I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing and promoting it the way you are, because my granddaughter kind of saw what you were doing, and she was at one of your workshops, and she decided that she wanted to start writing letters and have like a military pen pal. And it was so sweet. She's like, yeah, she comes from a military family, so she felt like that was a great way for her to give back and like make a difference for someone else. And I was like, oh my God, like, I have goosebumps right now talking about it, but like, I cried a little bit. Like, I don't know. I just think it's really cool when you have a great mission that you are passionate about, that you wake up every day and you're like, yes, this is something that I still love to do. Mm-hmm. When you see that pay off in some way, I think it makes all the hard work that you put into it so worth it.
Right. And going off that, just like a quick little note, I still remember, that's the thing too with my platform, especially those ups and downs with that back picture is probably like a really pivotal moment for me, because I was so proud of that picture, and I still am. But the backlash, like, as much as now I can really just look at it and be like, wow, they're just living under a rock, they need to get it together. But it was really hard at the time. Just because when you're told like this is going to ruin everything for you, and, standing up for what you believe in, and people kind of encouraging you to sell out and be like, don't post this. And,
right.
I also kind of live by the thing, never be ashamed of being comfortable in your own skin. That, and, I'm someone that I feel like I'm pretty strong, but I wasn't all the time. So there was a lot of tears. Like, my sister saw a lot of that. I'm sure, Jess, you've seen a lot of it from me. It's that frustration, and it's good to feel reassured sometimes. And I was doing a mock interview before state one year, and one of the male interviewers, he said to me, he's like, all the BS aside, whatever. He's like, I just want to tell you that I really appreciate what you're doing. He said, my wife gets catcalled, almost every day walking home from work. He's like, I just want to tell you that your work matters. And that really hit home to me, just because it's nice every now and then to feel like you're doing something sort of right. And that somebody does appreciate it, because I think it's so much easier for people to just give you negative feedback than actually tell you and admit that tell you you're doing something right or encourage you. So it's kind of those moments that you think, okay, like this is making me happy. It's always worth it. But those moments that really make it worth it, and all the turmoil and all the stress, and then somebody comes up to you and tells you that they really appreciate what you're doing. And I think that's really, really neat. In the field.
Way to wrap up, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It makes me happy. And it was, this podcast episode, I was kind of like, oh yeah, like finding, platform and your passion, but it's really cool to like rehash it and look back and look at all the things you learned. And if you should speak on this too, if there's like one side tip that you should give for your platform, mine is stay true to yourself, honestly. Like, even if people are telling you no, if people are saying, it's too safe or too controversial, or this is never going to happen, stick to your guns, because someday those people will look back and say, darn, you were right.
Yep.
And whether it helps you win a pageant or if it loses you pageants, or, obstacles or successes, anything in life.
It's so much more meaningful, I think, when you stick to your own guns.
And don't sell yourself out. Honestly, like in Miss America, there's just so much selling out, and that's what really bothers me about it. And it's not an organizational thing; it's just a person thing and the stereotypical thing. And I think that someday that'll get more mainstream. People will see that, but honestly, just do your own thing, work your own way. Honestly, too, if anyone's listening to this and you are competing in Miss America, and say you've done a bunch of pageants and you haven't won a title, or even somebody who's won a bunch, stick to what stick to what you do. Your work matters. I'm telling you this right now, that it matters. It matters to you. It matters to me. And Justin and I both experienced that firsthand.
Oh my God, so many times.
Yeah. Do you have like a quick tidbit?
Yeah, I do. And I think I'm going to steer a little bit more toward like the marketing route, because I think that it's important to be passionate about your platform, but also it's important to understand how to market your platform too. Like if your platform is something that you actually want to create like a program for, create a logo, create a website, make an Instagram page, like create an email account, make those PowerPoints, make those documents, like have tangible stuff that you can take everywhere. Because I think that will really help you promote yourself even further. And I think, you gain a lot of support based on what you have done before and what kind of experience that you have. And I don't know, that was kind of jumbled, but I guess, if something you feel is not working, market yourself in maybe a different way, maybe push the envelope a little further. Like you said, Maddie, like don't be afraid to push the envelope. So if something isn't working for you, or like if you feel that you aren't making a difference, you are, but don't be afraid to push it a little further and do something a little bit extra and go the extra mile a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Side note, I forgot I didn't mention this earlier. My hair was blue because blue and teal is the color associated with sexual assault. I just realized I didn't say that. People are probably just like, what?
I feel like we need to find those pictures, like your back picture and the picture of you with like blue hair, and like I'll find some platform pictures of me doing platform stuff, and like we can throw it on our Instagram and Facebook. And
good idea.
Bask in that glory.
Should we wrap to our little segments that we like to do at the end of every episode?
Yeah, we've been recording for 52 minutes. I love it.
I love it. We'll breeze through these.
Yes.
Okay, Jess actually thought of this. What would you rather? Jess, do you want to read it?
Sure. Okay, so would you rather forget your swimsuit at home on pageant day, or forget your evening gown at home on pageant day? And you like...
Jess has done this, right?
I've done this, yeah. I forgot at my local pageant this year, I forgot my swimsuit at home. which was 2 hours away, and I had to scramble to figure it out. And actually, this is funny because at the National Sweetheart pageant, my California sweetheart, who was like right next to the dressing room, or in the dressing room station next to me, she forgot her swimsuit at her host family's house. And she was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, granted, Hoopston was not very big and it was easy to go back and get it, or like have somebody get it. But I was seriously, that causes so much anxiety.
Yeah, totally.
I think I would rather forget my swimsuit at home.
Me too. Mm-hmm. Because somebody could always run. So many people get their pageant swimsuits at Target.
Oh yeah.
So I would like just have someone run to Target, or like go run really quick and just find something, you know?
And I feel like if I forgot my swimsuit, and if someone was willing to lend me one, I feel like swimsuits are much easier to fit into than a perfectly tailored evening gown.
Yes, 100% agree.
Evening gowns are like tailored to your height and your measurements and like all this, and that'd be so hard to like try and borrow one or find one.
Yes, I've always thought about that at state. I'm like, what if somebody forgets a swimsuit or something? I'm like, if I could go on first and like they were last, we could just quick switch, or like I could just like quick throw on my swimsuit or something like that.
Work. I've thought about that before.
Yeah, definitely swimsuit.
So we'll post this Would You Rather on our Facebook page, so you can weigh in and let us know what you think about that. We actually have a write-in for the Crown Cringe.
I love that.
Do you want to read this, Maddie?
Yeah, I can read it. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this Crown Cringe says, at my first ever pageant, my onstage question was about why I wanted to pursue a career in wildlife rehabilitation, which I actually no longer wanted to do at the time. And I talked about why shoveling poop is so important for an animal's health. Lesson learned, do not talk about animal poop on stage. Thank you, Samantha, for writing that in. That is hilarious. I've talked about in the past episodes how much I hate onstage question with a passion, but I can say I've never talked about animal feces on a stage. No, but I'm sure everybody in the audience laughed. Like, I'm sure people thought it was probably like actually really cute. You know what I mean?
So funny. Oh my God. Animal poop.
I know. Can you like wildlife rehabilitation and being like actually shoveling poop? I love that. It's like, remember I told you, like when people were like, how do you prevent cancer? And I'm like, eat healthy and exercise. Like, it's kind of like, it works, but at the same time, it's like, what?
You're like kicking yourself. Like, oh no.
I want to know how she placed in that pageant.
I know. Actually, I followed up with her after, and I was like, so how did you do? And she was like, I did not place.
But you know what? You kept it real, which we appreciate on this podcast.
Yes.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I love that. If you have any Crown Cringes, please write them in because we love to share them. We like to encourage our Crown Cringes because we all have them and we're all human.
Absolutely. I actually have, before we completely finish the podcast, I have one question that was written in. We had a couple of questions that we actually kind of answered talking about our platforms, but one question was, have any interview questions ever made you angry?
Oh, yes.
I know. I said the same thing. I was like, yes, for sure. But I can't think of anything specifically right now.
I remember I was in an interview. This is probably the most angry I've been after. And thank goodness it was a mock interview, though. And this person did not understand. Basically, we're arguing in our interview because we talked about, I think it was something about men. We're talking about Brock Turner, the Brock Turner case. And basically she was saying how it's in men's DNA to want to, how do I say this appropriately?
Want to assault people?
Yes. And how women should just basically accept the fact that's how their genetics are and that they just need to protect themselves because that's just what men are going to do and we just need to deal with it.
Oh and God, I would have kicked her.
I have never been so frustrated in my life, and I'm just like, actually we need to teach, men and women too, because it that bothered me too, but we need to teach men and women that this is not okay to respect yes and no. Like I went on this whole rant. And she was just like, yeah, that's just not how it's ever going to work. Like men are basically just genetically designed to want to reproduce with anything they see. So this is just something that women have to deal with. And I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I respectfully disagree. That is not true. I think I'm a very mind over matter person too. I think that you control every decision that you make and every, urge, we'll put it that way. And she just was not having it. She was just like, nope, that's not true. That's just how they are. They're just, made to want to basically bang everything. And that really made me mad.
Oh.
That really made me mad. And
now I'm mad.
I went home after that and I just I can't believe that just happened because I have never, encountered that. And obviously everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and that way that opinion was wrong to me. I'm a very agree disagree person, whatever, but I did not like that. That made that still makes me mad to this day. Because I was just nope, I think we all have a choice in life and what we do. And I don't think anybody should be defending Brock Turner. Sorry, not sorry.
Mic drop.
I don't think that you should get a few months in jail for ruining a girl's life. But whatever,
Sorry, bye.
The tea is hot, but whatever, Oh
my God.
Have you any specific instances or something you want to think about or?
Gosh, I'd have to think about this one. I really liked your answer. I might have to think about this one and throw it in the next episode.
Okay.
With our other questions that we get. And also we do have a tip and trick from Pageant Ponies, but I think I want to save that for next episode too.
Yeah. Let's save it.
I think it relates to like interview stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Let's save that. We'll save our tip and trick. Refer to our other episodes if you need a tip or trick to help you get through your week, your pageant, or your life.
Yeah, so on that note, be sure to follow Public House Media and Crowned and Dangerous on Instagram and like us on Facebook, of course. You can subscribe to us and rate and review us. Wherever you're listening, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, like a whole bunch of places. So literally wherever you listen to podcasts, you can subscribe to us there. Feel free to comment on our posts or email us or slide into our DMs because we really love to hear from you.
Totally. So we will actually be back in 2 weeks on November 1st for a brand new episode, Crowned and Dangerous. This has been Maddie and Jess reminding you to always wear your invisible crown, keep it real, and if you do not know what to say, world peace.
Bye.